Hong Kong launches Night Vibes campaign to promote nighttime economy. Downpour during red rainstorm signal leaves Sheko residents stranded once again. Libya remains in deep crisis after flooding as aid starts to trickle in. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Night Vibes Hong Kong campaign was launched at the Grand Stair at the MMuseum in West Kowloon Cultural District about an hour ago. The government has also announced over 30 discount plans and events that will start tomorrow. Financial Secretary Paul Chan kicked off the campaign with a laser beam that started a lion dance. The Night Vibes Hong Kong campaign includes food stalls, music shows and drone performances to be held in Wan Chai, Kwun Tong and the Belcher Bay Promenade in Kennedy Town, beginning the end of September. Shopping malls around town will also hold night markets. A special market will also adorn the Temple Street in Yau Ma Tei. Starting tomorrow, a mid-autumn lantern display will light up Cultural Center and Victoria Park. From Mid-Autumn Festival to November 23rd, the MTR will offer one free ride for every 5 trips after 10:30 p.m. Movie theaters will also roll out discounts, including $50 tickets for some movies. Starting this November to January next year, the government will hand out $100 vouchers to tourists to encourage nighttime spending. Just a week after Hong Kong was battered by the heaviest rainstorm in over 100 years, the city was hit by another downpour. The red rainstorm warning signal was in force for more than 4 hours this morning. Full day and morning-only schools have been suspended, with flooding seen across multiple districts. The city's weather observatory expects continued showers and thunderstorms over the next 1 to 2 days. Jackie Lin with details.
Hong Kong pounded by torrential downpours and thunderstorms again today, brought on by a trough of low pressure around the South China coast. Around Knutsford Terrace in Tsim Sha Tsui, a 26-meter tall crane collapsed onto a restaurant nearby. And again, multiple districts saw reports of flooding. In Koi Bay near King's Road, water gushing down the stairs. This car park in Chai Wan's Wan Choi estate, which was half submerged during last week's historic rainstorm, once again flooded this morning. Some lanes at the island eastern corridor were also temporarily closed due to floodwater. Around 4 a.m., the Hong Kong Observatory issued the amber rainstorm warning signal before elevating it to the red rainstorm signal at 5:55 a.m. Morning and afternoon schools were suspended.
I'm so happy because I don't need to go to school.
Like, it affects the traffic a lot, and then people might get stuck.
2:30 or 3 o'clock and woke up in the middle of the night, and took me a while to fall back asleep because it was raining down on the air conditioner pretty hard.
In these 2 weeks, like, there are red signal and there's the black signal. The typhoon number 10, like, the situation is getting worse.
Multiple districts recorded more than 100 millimeters of precipitation, with North Point, Tai Tam, and Kowloon City being the hardest hit, logging some 200 millimeters of rainfall.
If we look at the radar pictures, we can see that intense rain echoes kept approaching us from the south and crossing the territory, bringing heavy rain to us.
While students attending full-day or morning-only schools don't have to go to class today, afternoon schools will proceed as usual, as all rainstorm warnings, including the amber signal, were cancelled before noon at 11:45 a.m. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Sheko residents were once again cut off from the rest of the city after the only road leading to the area was closed during this morning's heavy rain. Authorities said Sheko Road would reopen to light vehicles around 9 p.m. and that they are aiming for traffic flow to fully resume at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Jackie Lin again.
This collapsed section of Sheko Road near Lanai Wan was among the hardest hit from last week's torrential rain. Following yet more heavy downpours this morning, emergency repair works were washed away. The area of landslide and subsidence also expanded. That forced the only road linking Sheko to the rest of the city to close off again before it was partially reopened at around noon for emergency use of only government vehicles and red minibuses of one designated route. Some minibus passengers had to walk around 100 meters in the rain and let the minibus drive through the more precarious section before boarding the minibus again. Some of the passengers found it safer this way. An engineering scholar said the second collapse on Sheko Road was likely caused by both the rainfall this morning and the impact from last week's downpour, which has loosened the soil.
When rains fall on the slope, actually about 40% becomes surface runoff and 60% roughly infiltrate into the soil. And the large catch area above the slope, it took time. Maybe it could take 1 or 2 days for the water to seep down to the location of the failure position.
Professor Ng says the government has conducted the right emergency remedial action, including concrete spraying, but he also urged the government to improve the drainage system and the retaining wall in the area over the long term. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Overseas in Libya, search teams combed streets, wrecked buildings, and even the sea, looking for signs of life in the devastated city of Derna. Nazvi Karim has more.
Disaster, disaster, disaster in every sense of the word, screams this survivor in the Libyan city of Derna after he lost 11 members of his family in Sunday's deadly floods. He was not alone. Entire families were washed away during Sunday's deluge, caused by the Mediterranean storm Daniel. Derna was particularly hard hit when 2 dams in nearby mountains collapsed and sent floodwaters on a destructive and deadly torrent through the city center. Waves rose as high as 7 meters, according to officials. Thousands of people have died, and many thousands more are missing, most of them washed out to sea. At least 30,000 people are displaced. Rescue teams report finding bodies wherever they go, inside houses, on the streets, and in the sea. This Derna resident said the houses of his 2 aunts and his cousin were completely lost. Perhaps 90% of our people drowned. It's genocide, he said. Rescue efforts are being hampered by the poor infrastructure and the fact that Libya is split into 2 governments, one in the east and another in the west. But the whole country is at least united in their grief, with teams from Tripoli and Benghazi rushing to Derna and other flooded areas to provide aid and support. The storm hit other areas in eastern Libya, including the towns of Beida, Susa and Marj. Neighboring countries such as Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia have sent rescue teams along with Jordan, Italy, France, the United Kingdom and Germany, among others. US President Joe Biden said the United States would send money to relief organizations and provide additional support. More than 70 of Derna's dead were from a single southern Egyptian village, El Sharif. On Wednesday morning, hundreds attended a mass funeral in the village for the victims. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
South Korea today expressed deep concern and regret over a meeting between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin that was apparently focused on expanding military cooperation. Tracy Furness reports.
Following the meeting between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, South Korea's unification minister on Thursday urged Moscow and Pyongyang to refrain from illegal arms deals or military cooperation. Both sides appear to continue to be pushing for various military transactions. We once again call on North Korea and Russia to stop illegal and reckless acts that only deepen their own isolation, said Kim Yong-ho, South Korea's unification minister. Meanwhile, the White House raised concerns on the meeting between Kim and Putin, where they discussed military matters and the war in Ukraine.
We continue to urge North Korea to meet its public commitments not to support Russia's war in Ukraine. We obviously have concerns about any burgeoning defense relationship between North Korea and Russia. Again, it remains to be seen what either side A, wants out of this, and B, will get out of it. These are not 2 countries that work well with others, and they don't really have all that much trust and confidence in each other. So we'll have to see. But certainly, any arrangement that would improve North Korea's military capabilities would be of significant concern to us.
When asked about China's reaction to the Kim-Putin meeting, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said the North Korean visit to Russia is an arrangement between the two countries, adding that China-North Korea relations are developing well. The North Korean leader invited President Putin to his country during their talks in Russia Wednesday. Putin reportedly accepted the invitation, but since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, Putin has rarely traveled abroad. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Newly appointed Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa outlined her country's stance on China in her first press conference since being appointed. Beijing's foreign ministry said it is in the common interest of the two countries to maintain the stable development of their relationship. Daniel Rao reports.
Appointed on Wednesday as part of a cabinet reshuffle by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, which aimed to strengthen his position before a key party leadership vote next year, Yoko Kamikawa is Japan's first female foreign minister in 20 years. Kamikawa stated the Japanese government's stance on its ties with China during her inaugural press conference as foreign minister. She said Tokyo will say what must be said and, in general, assert its interests. Kamikawa also said Japan will continue to hold talks on and work together with China to address common issues. However, she acknowledged there are many contentious matters that need to be resolved. Kamikawa said that she believed Japan and China must both put in the effort to build a constructive and stable relationship. Still, she clarified that Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's stance towards Beijing had not changed. Most recently, relations between Tokyo and Beijing were strained after Japan started releasing treated radioactive water from the wrecked Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean last month. The move angered China, which in response imposed a blanket ban on Japanese seafood and aquatic products. In Beijing, the Foreign Ministry commented on bilateral ties following the cabinet reshuffle in Japan. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said China and Japan are important neighbors, and it is in the common interest of the two countries and the region to maintain healthy and stable development of the relationship. She added the two sides should strengthen communication, deepen practical cooperation, and manage differences. Daniel Rao, TVB News.
Still ahead, Consumer Council finds some airlines may not be following rules over compensation. Welcome back. Research conducted by the Consumer Council found 22 airlines surveyed have varying compensation policies for lost or damaged baggage. Some of the policies may not be in line with international regulations. Sharon Tang reports.
Luggage is almost always a must for travel. When it comes to baggage delays, damage, or loss, many turn to airlines for compensation. The Consumer Council recently surveyed 22 airlines. It found that Air Asia, Thai Airways, and Air New Zealand specified that checked baggage must be delayed for over 24 hours to be eligible for reimbursement. 12 airlines said that if baggage was lost during flights when passengers are returning home, they would deem that those traveling already have enough clothing or daily necessities and may refuse compensation for such products. As for damaged check-in baggage, 15 airlines said they would try to repair the items, and if that was not possible, monetary compensation would be awarded instead. 3 airlines said they would not assume any responsibility if the handle or the wheels of the baggage were damaged.
When purchasing essential items in the event of a baggage delay, it is crucial to retain all purchase received for reimbursement purpose, and consumers should also avoid choosing more expensive products to prevent airlines from refusing reimbursement of unreasonably priced items, or only offer partial reimbursement.
Meanwhile, in the first 8 months of the year, the Consumer Council received 1,213 complaints about cellular data roaming, a 70% jump compared to the same period last year. In one case, a complainant was charged $100 per day after traveling on the mainland in May. It was then revealed the complainant did not reply to a long text from the telecom company, so the roaming service was activated automatically. The watchdog urged consumers to check the bill every month and contact the telecom provider for any unexplained charges. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The 8th Belt and Road Summit continued on its second day, with today's forum showcasing the development of Sino-Middle East ties and upcoming projects. Timothy Lee reports.
Having held a number of sessions today on the market outlook in the Middle East, senior officials from across the Arab world pitched their nation's perks to potential business partners at the Belt and Road Summit. Egypt's Minister of International Cooperation, Rania El-Mashat, said China and Egypt have a long-standing cooperation in the infrastructure sector, such as in the Suez Canal Economic Zone.
Egypt and China enjoy very important relationships, and given the visits by both leaders to both countries, it started in 2014 by President Sisi visiting President Xi, and then he visiting Egypt. When we take a look at the Chinese investments in Egypt, particularly lately, there have the Suez Canal Economic Zone. The Suez Canal, it represents 12% of global trade, 30% of container traffic. On the occasion also of the new administrative capital in Egypt, there are Chinese companies which are helping with the construction.
Meanwhile, Qatar's Deputy Undersecretary for Industrial Affairs and Business Development, Saleh bin Majid Al Khulaifi, noted the long history of the Gulf countries' participation in the BRI.
Qatar was the first Arab country that actually signs many of the treaties related to the Belt and Road Initiative. And being said, China and Qatar have great trade relations. China is actually the first and largest trade partner with Qatar. So our largest stadium that we held the final of the 2022 FIFA World Cup was also built and supported by Chinese companies.
Regarding Qatar's future cooperations with Hong Kong, El Khulaifi said the two have plenty in common.
So there's a close similarity between Qatar and Hong Kong. Both of them are port-based. Both of them have a great airport and air carrier. We both are bilingual. We can speak English is almost common language.
Under the Belt and Road Initiative, the Qatari Deputy Undersecretary noted that Doha and Beijing are currently working on setting up a Bank of China branch in the Gulf country that would be responsible for Chinese investment in the Middle East region. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
In Indonesia, President Joko Widodo took a ride on the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway, a landmark project under the Belt and Road Initiative. Widodo examined the construction progress at Halim Station in the capital, Jakarta. He then took the train to Padalarang Station in West Java Province. It was the first time he had ridden on the railway. He described the experience as an advancement of civilization. And to sports, the Asian Games Athletes Village in Hangzhou, China, opens a week on Saturday and promises to be the most high-tech and sustainable-driven ever. From mini dolls of themselves to earning carbon points, thousands of athletes from around the continent can keep themselves busy when not competing or training. Nasvi Karim has more.
How about a miniature custom-made model of yourself? Or opening a low-carbon account, or even a 3D printed chocolate. The 19th Asian Games open in the eastern Chinese city of Hangzhou in Zhejiang province on September 23rd. It is said to be the largest edition ever, with 12,500 athletes from 45 countries and regions competing in 40 sports, 61 disciplines and 481 events. The Athletes Village is state-of-the-art, with the focus on sustainable living. At the fitness center, various cutting-edge technologies can help athletes capture their memories.
This device can generate more than 190 photos a second, which are turned into three-dimensional data for athletes to print a customized miniature of themselves. We're also offering 3D printed chocolates. Athletes can choose their favorite sports to print. The chocolates also come in the shape of Hangzhou's cultural landmarks, like the West Lake, for athletes to get the taste of the local culture.
Advanced technology also promises a greener Asian Games. At the Zero Waste Lifehouse, athletes are expected to win awards by living in eco-friendly and sustainable ways.
We have athletes from 45 different countries. We don't have a universal app. That's why we provided this QR code. They will log into the low-carbon account. Whenever they recycle a bottle or they sorted their waste, they will gain about 10 carbon points. They can use their points, go to here to redeem some of the rewards.
The cultural houses inside the village aim to promote elements of sustainable living related to Chinese tradition. This is the combination of the 24 solar terms in Shaoshan Guojiang cloth, which is plant-dyed cloth. Each solar term is connected to a particular plant, the seeds, roots and leaves of which are used to dye silk. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.